There comes a moment when a difficult conversation must take place. With the constitutional weight the monarchy carries, Princess Anne recently disclosed one of King Charles's most personal and final wishes, one that took both Prince William and Prince Harry by surprise. In a family often marked by silent tension and emotional distance, this revelation left the king's sons visibly stunned, unsure of what lay ahead. The unexpected meeting was held under strict security at Windsor, signaling that this was no ordinary family gathering. Prince Harry's arrival alone, without Meghan, sparked quiet speculation among staff, their absence speaking volumes about the current state of royal relations. Within the palace's grand halls, the silence was thick with anticipation. Despite summoning the family, King Charles chose not to speak directly. Instead, he entrusted Princess Anne with delivering his message, a break from tradition that underscored the gravity of the moment. Many had not seen the king in weeks, and his appearance revealed the strain of his declining health. Princess Anne stood poised, burdened with the weight of her task. Her delivery was direct and unflinching, cutting through the tension like a blade. This was no ceremonial update, it was a decisive turning point. What had once been imagined as a slow, orderly transition was now being accelerated. The future of the monarchy was being rewritten in real time. Prince William, visibly taken aback, absorbed the shock of the new timeline for his ascension, no longer measured in years, but in months. Meanwhile, Harry stood on the sidelines, sensing the irreversible shift. A fleeting glance between the brothers conveyed more than words could. Tempers soon flared. Prince Edward, usually the calm mediator, found himself overwhelmed by the rising discord. Even Queen Camilla, often restrained in family matters, expressed concern over the sudden changes. Yet, this was not a decision made lightly by Charles. Confronted by his declining health, he understood the monarchy's future could not be left to chance. The weight of past scandals, public skepticism, and internal rifts had reached a critical point. After many sleepless nights and consultations with trusted advisors, Charles had chosen Anne for her honesty, her ability to speak plainly where others would veil the truth in tradition. As her speech ended, the room held its breath. The centuries-old institution felt as though it was on the edge of transformation. Charles's vision went beyond merely passing the crown. It called for a redefinition of the monarchy's relevance in the modern world. With plummeting approval among younger generations and rising Republican sentiment across the Commonwealth, change was no longer optional. His plan proposed slimming down the list of working royals, making royal estates more accessible to the public, and dramatically reforming royal finances, initiatives once unimaginable in past reigns. This was about adaptation, not legacy. Though William would still inherit the throne, he would rule over a monarchy reborn. No longer just a matter of titles and ceremonies, the focus was shifting toward public image, influence, and survival in a skeptical era. The decision was deeply influenced by historic precedent, like the 1936 abdication crisis that placed an unready George VI on the throne, nearly destabilizing the monarchy. When he died young in 1952, Elizabeth II inherited the crown far sooner than expected. Now, history seemed to echo once more, with Charles pushing for reform not just for continuity's sake, but for the monarchy's very relevance. At an unexpectedly young age, Charles found himself burdened with responsibilities that most only face in the later stages of life. Growing up, he observed his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, forsake personal happiness in unwavering service to the crown. Their bond was often strained, shaping in him a complicated understanding of duty. Witnessing the monarchy consume her identity, Charles realized that power was far from glamorous, it was isolating. Elizabeth became more a national symbol than a mother, her personal desires always eclipsed by public expectations. When she passed away in 2022, the monarchy lost its last enduring anchor. Her 70-year reign had concealed many of the institution's underlying issues, and with her gone, those cracks began to show. Shortly after her death, Charles received a private but devastating cancer diagnosis. The ticking clock turned the future of the monarchy into a pressing matter. Despite decades of preparation, he now faced the likelihood that his reign might be short-lived. The irony struck him, and those familiar with royal history, deeply. Just as he finally stepped into the role he had long awaited, time threatened to deny him the chance to fully enact his vision. Determined not to leave his son William burdened with the same instability, Charles began to act decisively. For too long, the crown had merely symbolized tradition. Now, it was something fragile, vulnerable to both public criticism and internal disarray. With each public appearance carefully orchestrated around his medical needs, Charles studied how rushed transitions had fractured other European monarchies. He was intent on avoiding similar chaos. His actions weren't about preserving personal legacy, they were about safeguarding the monarchy itself. In that spirit, he introduced financial reforms to improve transparency, initiated conversations around repatriating royal artifacts to former colonies, and even began converting some royal estates into public housing, steps that would have been unimaginable in past reigns. Behind palace walls, William and Kate were already stepping into expanded roles. Reports emerged that William now regularly received the government's red boxes, the same confidential briefings once exclusive to the monarch. It was a subtle but unmistakable handover of power. William's involvement in high-level meetings with the Prime Minister and international dignitaries increased steadily. The monarchy was preparing him, carefully and deliberately, for the crown. Meanwhile, Kate stepped into her evolving role with quiet grace. There was no grand announcement, no forced spotlight, just a steady assumption of responsibility. Where Diana had often battled with the rigidity of royal expectations, and Meghan had ultimately stepped away from them, Kate adapted with remarkable composure. She led solo initiatives focused on mental health and early childhood development and hosted foreign dignitaries with a natural confidence that earned admiration from seasoned diplomats. She emerged as the emotional cornerstone of the monarchy's next chapter, reliable, poised, and respected. Kate's relationship with Charles also matured. What once had been formal became a genuinely warm connection, with the king increasingly seeking her counsel on sensitive family issues. In her, Charles found the stability his own early marriage had lacked. Unlike many royal spouses, Kate brought not aristocratic pedigree, but authenticity. Her middle-class roots, once quietly criticized by palace traditionalists, had become her greatest strength, linking the monarchy to the everyday British public. Even Queen Elizabeth had seen Kate's quiet resilience early on. While figures like Camilla may have initially viewed her as competition, Kate's power lay in her consistency and humility. She stayed grounded, even while navigating one of the world's most rigid institutions, a quiet force in a legacy of immense change. Kate's ability to navigate the royal hierarchy was repeatedly affirmed through her handling of public scrutiny. When Meghan Markle alleged that Kate had made her cry during the lead-up to her wedding, Kate chose not to retaliate. She remained silent, refraining from statements or interviews. Instead, she increased her public engagements, letting her work speak for itself. This composed restraint resonated with the public and palace advisors, earning her praise. Her popularity consistently ranked among the highest in the royal family, at times even surpassing Prince William's. Behind closed doors, her influence grew beyond ceremonial appearances. She quietly redefined royal parenting, ensuring her children experienced life beyond the sheltered world of royalty. Trusted for her steady judgment, she became a dependable voice in private council meetings, contrasting starkly with other royal figures often embroiled in scandal. Kate's role during King Charles's coronation was deeply symbolic. Standing beside the monarch, she represented the monarchy's future, calm, capable, and ready. Her close relationship with younger royals, particularly Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis, helped solidify her place as the emotional core of the royal household. Even Queen Elizabeth's famously finicky corgis responded positively to her, reflecting her warm presence in a family often perceived as emotionally distant. Through thoughtful parenting practices, Kate introduced a gentler tone to royal family life, balancing tradition with modern sensibilities. In the digital era, the monarchy faces new levels of scrutiny. Every public gesture is dissected online, with social media shaping public perception instantly. To adapt, the royal household now receives daily digital sentiment reports, a sharp departure from the slower, more curated media of Elizabeth II's reign. Charles acknowledged this shift early in his kingship. He established the Royal Social Media Council, blending experienced advisors with younger digital experts to guide the monarchy's online engagement. Although some veteran courtiers resisted at first, this modern strategy allowed the royal family to handle controversies with greater agility. Amid these changes, the rift between Prince William and Prince Harry remains unresolved. Harry, now rooted in California, continues to straddle his American life and royal heritage. Though no longer a working royal, his story still influences the monarchy's narrative. Despite publicly expressed sentiments of familial love, his relationship with William is fractured. The brothers haven't had a sincere conversation in years. Tensions escalated after Harry and Meghan's explosive interview with Oprah, where allegations about racist comments regarding their children surfaced. Harry's memoir, Spare, deepened the divide by disclosing physical altercations and portraying William and Kate in an unflattering light. Palace insiders reveal that William avoids any mention of Harry, changing the subject when his name comes up. Persistent rumors suggest Harry held back additional material from Spare on legal advice, potentially saving it for future use. Some speculate he hopes for reconciliation, others believe he's waiting to judge William's leadership as future king. This uncertainty fuels ongoing anxiety within palace walls. However, the power dynamic has shifted. Decisions about Harry's place in the royal family now rest largely with William, especially as King Charles's health remains fragile. Harry can no longer look to his father for protection. The keys to any future reconciliation now lie in his brother's hands. William's leadership style contrasts sharply with his father's. While Charles often absorbed conflict quietly, William has shown readiness to set clear boundaries. Palace sources indicate that one of his early decisions as king may be to formally strip Harry and Meghan of their Royal Highness titles. Though they agreed not to use them, their retention of the titles causes public confusion, especially after Meghan was recently referred to as Her Royal Highness by a foreign diplomat. For William, clarity is vital. In a digital age where any message can go viral, the monarchy must define who officially represents it. Those who step away, in his view, shouldn't continue benefiting from its status. Another pressing issue for the monarchy is its evolving relationship with the Commonwealth. Queen Elizabeth's personal popularity had long helped sustain these ties. Since her passing, several Caribbean nations have begun steps to sever symbolic links with the British monarchy, following Barbados's lead in 2021. King Charles has approached this change pragmatically. Rather than clinging to outdated roles, he's focused on reshaping the monarchy's relevance. Privately, he's acknowledged that this transformation is both inevitable and beneficial. This practical mindset has informed William's overseas engagements. His tours now emphasize climate action, educational exchanges, and cultural collaboration over traditional pomp. He's held in-depth conversations with young Commonwealth leaders to understand their views, which has sometimes meant confronting painful legacies of colonialism. Together, Charles and William are steering one of Britain's most significant foreign policy shifts in decades, from hierarchical loyalty to equitable partnerships. They recognize that trying to preserve historical dominance could hasten the institution's decline. Their goal is to build relationships based on mutual respect, not inherited power. For King Charles, whose reign has been overshadowed by illness and his mother's towering legacy, his final royal hope goes beyond constitutional matters. He wishes to mend broken family ties, not necessarily to restore Harry's role, but to reopen channels of communication. In private moments, he's known to reflect on family photographs, especially those capturing William and Harry's shared childhood. Though he doesn't seek a full return for Harry, he's never wanted permanent estrangement either. Trusted intermediaries have maintained lines of contact when direct dialogue proved too fraught. Charles believes that familial responsibilities endure beyond scandal, geography, or titles. As his health deteriorates, the urgency to heal these wounds has intensified. At a recent Windsor meeting, Princess Anne, known for her blunt pragmatism, conveyed his message. While delivering it as a duty rather than a plea, even she expressed doubt about the likelihood of reconciliation. Doctors have advised Charles to avoid emotional stress, making direct intervention risky. Instead, he has instructed advisors to prepare quiet pathways for reconciliation, to be enacted if his condition worsens. These contingency plans are safely stored in his personal study. Yet no royal directive can repair emotional damage. Ceremonial gestures and public unity cannot erase personal betrayals. Charles has made space for healing, but whether that space will be used is beyond his control. His attention must now turn to his health. The future of both the monarchy and the family rests with William. His reign will not just be ceremonial, it will define the monarchy's character in a rapidly changing world. Whether the royal family can find any true common ground after years of very public division remains uncertain. The pressing question now is whether Prince William will honor his father's quiet wish for a slight opening of the door, or if he will resolutely shut it behind the path Harry chose. The answer carries weight beyond personal dynamics. It will shape the monarchy's public image for generations. Inside palace walls, advisors debate the best course of action. Some advocate for a definitive break, stripping titles, clarifying succession, and focusing the institution solely on those who have remained loyal. Others warn that such severity could spark public sympathy for Harry and Meghan, especially if timed poorly against the backdrop of Charles's ailing health. Royal historians caution that familial fractures have historically destabilized monarchies. Still, William's decision remains a mystery, even to those closest to him. What they do observe is a growing confidence in his ability to make tough calls. To many within the palace, Charles's final message wasn't just a paternal request, it was a challenge to William's leadership. Could he strike a balance between preserving the crown's strength and keeping a fractured family from fully falling apart? When King Charles ascended to the throne, he inherited more than the crown, he inherited an institution in flux. The monarchy, once defined by ceremony and stoic silence, now exists in an age where visibility matters more than ever. In today's world, silence isn't seen as dignity but as indifference. Charles, unlike his predecessors, didn't ascend abruptly. He waited decades, observing changing tides in public opinion, watching institutions falter, and learning lessons no previous king had to face: how to lead in an era when the very concept of leadership is under scrutiny. From the outset, Charles signaled a new direction. His reign wouldn't center on spectacle, but on streamlining and responsiveness. The idea of a slimmed-down monarchy wasn't just about saving costs, it was about restoring public trust through restraint and relevance. While Queen Elizabeth embodied continuity, Charles represents adaptation. He recognizes that modern citizens question everything: tradition, wealth, privilege, and demand transparency in return. To survive this scrutiny, the monarchy must not only justify its existence, but prove its worth through reform and conduct. But Charles cannot carry out this transformation alone. The royal family is now smaller, with only a few senior royals left to manage its public and institutional roles. Prince William and Princess Kate are central to this future. Their appeal, both at home and abroad, is essential. Yet recent health challenges faced by both Charles and Kate have left noticeable gaps in visibility and public engagement. In the digital age, absence breeds vulnerability. When high-profile figures disappear from the public eye, speculation swiftly fills the void, and once unleashed, speculation is nearly impossible to control. This is why Charles has made quiet but strategic changes to how the royal family manages media. Instead of confronting the press, he has introduced new internal protocols. Public appearances are now shorter, more curated, and strategically scheduled. Photographers operate under tighter restrictions. Unplanned moments are rare. Leaks are fewer. The monarchy is no longer reactive, it is controlled and deliberate. This is not a retreat, but a defense mechanism in a world where narrative control has shifted from palace briefings to global social media trends. The lessons learned from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's media engagements have not been lost on the king. Their interviews and streaming content proved that royal silence is no longer an effective shield. Emotional disclosures and personal grievances were broadcast to the world, forcing the palace to respond not through statements, but through behavior. Charles chose calm over confrontation, yet behind the scenes, he began overhauling the monarchy's media strategy. Today, public image is not left to chance. Charles now oversees tighter press controls and internal communication reviews. Insider access is limited, leaks are monitored, and public messages are coordinated with precision. It's a shift in power, subtle, but significant. The monarch is no longer just a figurehead, he is the editor-in-chief of the royal family's public persona. However, there's a cost to this carefulness. The more the family withholds, the more the public speculates. Mystery, once admired, now breeds distrust. Charles must walk a tightrope, present enough to maintain relevance, yet distant enough to preserve dignity. So far, the king's approach has been clear and consistent. He is leading a quiet modernization through order, not attention-seeking. Rather than leaning on charisma, he is rebuilding the monarchy's legitimacy through responsible leadership. This monarchy is less about grand displays and more about grounded purpose. It's muted, cautious, and tightly managed, but in Charles's view, that's exactly what the institution needs in a time when nothing is sacred and everything is subject to scrutiny. Now, the spotlight shifts to William. Standing at the edge of his own reign, he faces a decision that could redefine the monarchy's future. Should he fulfill his father's parting wish and leave the door slightly ajar for reconciliation, or should he make a clean break, for the sake of clarity and stability? One choice could soften years of division, the other could draw a line that defines a new era. The question remains, which path should he choose?